Good morning to all. So, we are discussed in our previous class, that is how to write your final examination point of view, that is totally your entire so mainly from the second unit syllabus, that is that was mainly the wildlife conservation in India, how the wild animals, how the wild organisms are going to be conserved. So that is so how to write wildlife conservation in India, and national parks in India, and wildlife sanctuaries in India, and biodiversity hotspots in India, and how to write after that you are having the pollution is also one of the question, and the types of the pollution is also there. So the remaining topics are also left in your second unit. So that was mainly about population growth curves, and ecological succession, the structure of a community. So those are the topics in your second unit, and how to write, and what are the important questions, and what are the essay questions on that particular second unit are completed in our yesterday class. Today we are going to discuss about the first unit important questions and how to write your syllabus. So the first unit is completely about the ecology is there. So the ecology was completely about the information of ecology. The first unit is ecology. That was a complete information about the structure and functions of ecosystem, and their types. Those are terrestrial, aquatic ecosystems, and biogeochemical, nutrient cycles, those are nitrogen, carbon cycle, and phosphorus cycle, and food chain, food web, and ecological pyramids. Animal associations, mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, competition, and predation. So this is your first unit syllabus. It is completely the unit 1 syllabus. So how to write the structure and functions of an ecosystem. It is the first topic in your first unit. So in these actually the ecosystem structure, so how it was going to be, and the types of ecosystem is also there. So if the question was they asked to write write about the structure and functions of ecosystem, then you also able to write the terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem. So, what is the difference between the terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem, and what are the different organisms are lived inside the terrestrial region, and so the how the ecosystem was constructed. All the living organisms are so different organisms are live together in our same ecosystem. So, that was ecology, studying about the particular different organisms, living organisms in an ecosystem. That is ecology, that is a combination of ecology and a structure of structure and functions of ecosystem. First you have to write and the types, that is a terrestrial ecosystem, and after that you can able to write the aquatic ecosystem. So, at particular we mentioned the diagram. With the help of the diagram you can able to write and clearly write about the terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem. Why? Because completely both are completely different and vary. Why? Because the terrestrial ecosystem may contain the different animal fauna, aquatic ecosystem is also contain the different animal fauna. So, based upon that reason, so the terrestrial ecosystem, so that may possess the different types of the such different organisms. Animals are able to live at the larger animals and the smaller animals, like the some of the arthropods organisms, like the scorpion like organisms and the terrestrial organisms, and so the remaining amphibians and the reptiles, birds and the mammals, so the well developed vertebrates are completely terrestrial organisms, and some of the mammals are able to live inside the water also, but most of the organisms on the surface of the earth region, those are comes under the terrestrial region. And the aquatic organisms, aquatic fauna, the fishes are the major organisms inside the aquatic fauna, and so remaining that so inside the aquatic fauna, so the fishes and some of the blue green algae, zooplanktons, and some of the smaller organisms, microbes, and that was the larval stages, mosquito larvals and some of the larval stages, and the amphibian larval stage, and so remaining some other arthropod organisms and molluscan organisms and the echinodermata organisms, protozoan organisms, the poriferan organisms, cylindrata organisms are also lived inside the water, except the platyhelminthes and the nematohelminthes and annelida. Because so those platyhelminthes, nematohelminthes organisms are completely the most of the organisms are the parasites. So those are lived inside the body of the host only, and the remaining annelida organisms are some of the parasites, and most of the organisms are external parasites, and some of the organisms are freely living. So in this manner the aquatic fauna was completely vary from the one ecosystem level to the another ecosystem. So by that reason you can, and in these entire unit the important question, that is the main important questions are biogeochemical cycles, and after that animal associations are the two very important essays. So those important essays are biogeochemical nutrient cycle is the first important essay question, and after that animal associations is a very important essay. Two essays are there in these question, and the remaining are came from the so only for the short answer question, but remaining only two are the important essays here, and the second one, that is biogeochemical nutrient cycles, and the complete information is there for the cycles. Three different cycles are, and water cycle is also there. I forgot to write. The water cycle is also there. Completely four cycles are there in your biogeochemical nutrient cycles. So in these biogeochemical nutrient cycles, completely four cycles are they asked to write four cycles. On those four cycles, the nitrogen cycle is a very much important question. So it is came from the essay question, and sometimes they also asked to write two more two questions also, two cycles are also they asked to write for essay question, and sometimes only they asked to write about the clearly mentioned that is write about the that was a nitrogen cycle or carbon cycle or phosphorus cycle or water cycle. So in this manner they so individually asked, and so they completely they asked to write about the biogeochemical cycles. So but you clearly write about the the nitrogen cycle. So, the information is completely there, the cycle is there, perfect cycle is there. You first draw the particular cycle, then only you can able to write the complete information about the nitrogen cycle. Why the nitrogen is important? The nitrogen is the nitrogen, carbon and so those are the gaseous state, those are available on the air. So, those are going to be, so those are not directly utilized by the each and every organism. Why? Because, so before going to the utilization by the plants and the animals, the nitrogen should be going to be fixed. Those nitrogen fixation process was occurred mainly by the nitrogen fixation bacteria are there. So, those are the rhizobium bacteria inside the leguminaceae plant root nodules in under the earth region. So, those are root nodules that was mainly that was comes under mutualism. In the middle of the two different organisms or lead life throughout their lifespan, but those are one organism was depends upon the another organism, and so on those manner the nitrogen fixation was mainly occurred with the rhizobium bacteria. Most of the nitrogen was going to be fixation process by the rhizobium bacteria. Remaining some other percent, that is up to the 10 to 20% was only occurred with the help of the remaining blue green algae and some other so that was and some other nosta cannabina like blue green algae like organisms, and so the thunders are naturally occurred in the air. So, those thunders are also helpful for the electrical reactions, chemical reactions are also helpful for the nitrogen fixation. So, the nitrogen was going to be fixation process, then only the nitrogen was utilized by the that was combined with the oxygen, that is nitrogen dioxide, and so those are the nitrates and the nitrites. So, in the combination of the oxygen, then only that was going to be fixed inside the on the surface on the soil, and that was going to be that was utilized by the each and every organism. Otherwise, that may not be going to be utilized. So, that should be utilized with the help of so the fixation process only. So, you can able to write and clearly mentioned so that is a nitrogen fixation by the which bacteria, and what are the steps are involved on those nitrogen fixation. After the utilization of the nitrogen, and that was again entered into the that was the nitration process is there, denitration process is there. The nitrifying bacteria was going to be helpful for the nitrogen that was a nitrates formation, and again denitrifying bacteria is there. Those are going to denitrify, that means again a separation of the oxygen from the nitrogen. Then the gaseous state of the nitrogen again entered into the atmosphere. In this manner, this process was completely rotated in the manner of the cycle. That's why it was considered as a nitrogen cycle here. So, in these manner the nitrogen cycle was rotated, and carbon cycle is there. Carbon is also helpful for the each and every organism. The carbon was in the form of, that is carbon dioxide in the on the air. That was not also utilized by the each and every organism. That was reached into the earth region, then only the organisms are utilized. That is a carbon cycle. So, on the different manners through the respiration process that was released into the air, and that was some other process, that is a combustion of the air, and that was the coal mines different or again the carbon was released into the air region. So, that is the carbon cycle. And the phosphorus that may not be contained the gaseous state, that is only presented in the form of the sedimentary form in the rocks and the earth crust, that was going to be utilized by the each and every organism. That was also by the phosphatizing bacteria was helpful for that function. The phosphatizing bacteria was helpful for the utilization of the phosphorus to the each and every organism. That is a phosphorus cycle. And the water cycle is there. The water cycle you know very well, that is in the form of at the time of a summer season, all the water going to be on the water sources, the water was going to be evaporated. So, the evaporated water was entered into the atmosphere in the form of cloud formation, the condensation of the cloud. So, those cloud formation was helpful furtherly in the rainy season. So, that was mainly from the clouds again the water sources or the water was entered into the again on the surface of the earth region, then only all the water sources, those are the rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, all are filled with the waters, so water sources, and the surface region is also so absorb the earth region was also absorb the water. So by that reason the ground level water, the water is going to be stored inside the ground level, that was the deepest parts of the earth. So that was the groundwater, that was also helpful for that was mainly helpful, that can able to supply the water to the developing plants. So the plant developing, and so that is about the water cycle. So you are clearly write these 4 cycles. So they asked, and where appropriate. And the third topic, that is a food chain is there, food web is there, ecological pyramids are also there. So these question is they asked to write into, that was write about the food chain, and write about the food web, and write about the ecological pyramids. They asked to write individually. They asked to write each and every question individually, but it is only for the short answer question, not for essay. So that's you can able to clearly write the, so draw the food chain, and then only you can write the so that is a producer level to the consumer level. So the primary consumers and the herbivores, and that was a carnivore level. So on those manner you can write the, you can draw the first food chain, then only you can able to started to write the clear information about the food chain. So and a food web, so it is a combination of the food chain fused together and called and considered as a food web. And the ecological pyramids, so those are ecological pyramids, that is so in the graphical, that was mainly in the pyramidal, so pyramids or triangular shaped structures. On those manners the food chain, that was a producer level to the consumer level, was represented in the form of the those structure, that is ecological pyramids. So I can able to write the types of the ecological pyramids. And the last topic, that is animal associations. It is a completely very important essay. So in these completely 2 essays are there. The first that is a biogeochemical nutrient cycle is one of the important essay, and the animal associations is also one of the important essay here. Remaining 2 are remaining the types of ecosystem and not necessary, but only the food chain is important for short answer. Food web, ecological pyramids are also important for the short answer question, but animal associations is completely very important for a essay. The animal associations in these different types are there, that is mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism, competition, and the predation. So in these animal associations, the mutualism is a mutual understanding between the 2 different organisms. So 2 different organisms are unfortunately associated with the one, and so those are depends one upon the another, and these mutualism is also different, that is mutualism with a continuous contact, and a mutualism with a without continuous contact is there. That is nothing but the mutualism process was continued, so that was in the middle of 2 different organisms, that was throughout their life, that is a mutualism with a continuous contact, and temporarily one organism was depends upon the another organism. So that was a mutualism with without continuous contact. So mainly in this mutualism both the organisms are benefited here. Both the organisms are benefited, so any one of the organism may not be going to be harmed, or so any other problems are occurred in these association, that is a mutualism. And the commensalism, in these only one of the organism was benefited, and the remaining another organism may not be harmed and may not be benefited. So means remaining organism was not getting any harm and not getting any benefit, but only one of the organism was got only benefited here, that is a commensalism. The commensalism is also again 2 types are there, that is a commensalism with continuous contact is there, and the commensalism without continuous contact is there. So it is mainly for commensalism with continuous and without continuous contact. So that is mainly for the mutualism and commensalism. And So, another one, that is mutualism and commensalism. The parasitism is there. Parasitism is completely a different sector based upon and compare with these two. That is mutualism. In these mutualism, both the organisms are benefited here, and the commensalism, only one of the organism is benefited here, and remaining organism on their relationship was not benefited, neither benefited nor harmed. But in parasitism, completely the another organism was completely got harmed. That is the main variation between the mutualism and the commensalism. Parasitism is nothing but parasites or the microorganisms. Such organisms are depends upon the another organism for the food, shelter, and the purpose of the reproduction. So, on those manner, the parasitism is a different sector. So, based upon these two, so parasites, so different types of the parasites are there, and most of the parasites are belong to the Platyhelminthes, Nematohelminthes phylum organisms are completely parasites. Most of the organisms are parasites, and not only that, the protozoan organisms are also parasites. The Plasmodium vivax, the Plasmodium species, that is a single cellular organism, but those are a perfect parasites. Why? Because so the Plasmodium vivax may cause, leads to cause the malaria to the human beings. So, these parasites are complete for the completion of their lifespan, for the purpose of the reproduction, for the purpose of food material, for the purpose of shelter. Such organisms are entered into the another organisms. So, and they completely lead a parasitic life on the host. The organism which may so gives a shelter to the another organism, that organism was host, and the remaining organism was parasite. Those parasite was collect the food material from the host, and that may also, so that was the shelter. The shelter was provided by the host organism to the parasite, and the remaining purpose, that is nothing but so that was a reproduction. The life cycle is also completed on the host body. So, but that all the beneficents are received from the host by the parasite, but the parasite may cause a great harm to a great threat to the particular host, and sometimes by the effect of the parasites, the host organism was going to be die also. Some of the diseases are also by the parasites are also leads to cause the death of that particular organism, the particular host also. That is the main so the animal association is one of the a harmful association. Why? Because so it may cause a great effect by the parasites to the host body. And the different parasites are also available. The parasites are some of the parasites are completely internal, some of the parasites are external parasites are also there. So, that complete variation is also there, and so the once the parasites are entered into the body of the organism, then they may not be going to be came out so from the host body till to the end of their lifespan, and they rotate their lifespan, they rotate their life cycle and continue their life cycle on the host body. And so, in these manner, the parasites may cause a great injury to the host body. And the remaining the external parasites are also there. The leech is the external parasite, the cattle, and so some other human beings are also that may collect the so blood as a meal from the host body. After the receiving of the blood from the host, that was completely detached from the host body, that may not be the completely attached with the host body. So, that is the external parasite and the temporary parasite to the host body. And so, in these manner the parasites are completely vary, so the completely different. And another one, that is a competition is there. The competition was we already discussed at mainly the unit of evolution. At there we already discussed what is mean by the competition. The competition is in the middle of the two different organisms. So, for the scarcity of the food material, so for the and the dominator character organisms are only survived. So, in the middle of the weak organisms and the dominator organism, the competition was the struggle was occurred. So, the struggle was leads to mainly the removing of the weak organisms, and only the dominator organisms can only survive there. It should be happened. So, mainly after the occurring of the natural hazards or any other so problematics are occurred on that particular area. So, due to the supplements, that is food supplements are reduced, and So all the organisms are exposed to their enemies. So by that reason what happens is in the middle of the two different organisms, the struggle was occurred mainly. So that is mainly considered here as a competition process. The competition was finally leads to cause the removing of the another organisms. It is used to remove the completely remove the particular organisms on a particular area. Why? Because so only the dominated organisms are only survived, the remaining organisms are completely removed away from that area. That is mean by the competition. And after the completion of the competition, the predation is there. The predation is one of the relationship. So in these predatory relationship, what happens is so the mainly the wild animals are comes under this. The predation process is mainly the main examples. So those examples are the predators, that is predation like prey and predators. Prey is the food material to the predators. Mainly the wild animals are only comes under this. All the wild animals are only comes under this. Those are such wild animals or non-domestic animals are comes under the wild animals. Such animals are going to be so kill their prey. First they are going to attack their prey, they kill their prey, then only so they consume the food material as the died organisms. So that was such type of relationship was considered here as a predatory life, predation. That is a predation, the organisms are predatory organisms and predators. So those are completely so consumed for the purpose of the food material, those are completely killed the other organisms. So in the parasitism, competition and predation, so it is such a cruel type of relationships these three are. Among these three, only the predation is a completely cruel mechanism. Among these three, and the competition is also, so such organisms are going to kill the other organisms. So those are completely removed, those are the precursor for the removing of the other organisms on such a same type of ecosystem, and that is also comes under one of the a cruel type of so the relationship. So the predatory and the parasites are also those may cause sometimes there also leads to cause the death of the particular organisms, or that is a cruelty. And here also predation is also lively, those are going to kill their prey first. So if they identify their prey, they immediately attack so such organisms, and those are going to kill immediately those organisms, and then only they consume that food material, those organisms as their prey, as their food material. So it is also complicated, more cruel than the remaining parasitism and competition and predation. So why? Because the parasites are gradually got harm to the particular host body, and the competition is also a struggle was takes place inside the two different organisms, and but here completely the predators are completely different sector. Why? Because so such a cruel mechanism is there, that is nothing but so those are completely depends upon the another, are the those are completely kill their prey for the food material. So such type of relationship is a cruel relationship based upon these mutualism, commensalism, parasitism. So they asked to write in your final examination as important essay. So you can first you define the word animal associations. So that is such a type of relationship between the two different organisms. That relationship was considered here as the animal associations, and the two different organisms are so those are one organism was depends upon the another organism for the food, for the shelter, and for the purpose of their reproduction. So then so write these 4 to 8 points, then only you are entered into the what is the mean by the mutualism. First you define the mutualism, and you write then the types of the mutualism, and you clearly mention the examples for the mutualism with a continuous contact and mutualism without continuous contact. Then after you write the commensalism and define the word commensalism, and you ask to write the types of commensalism. Those are the commensalism with continuous contact and the commensalism without continuous contact with clear information and examples. And parasitism, you define the parasitism and the types of the parasites, and what are the external parasites and what are the internal parasites and what are the adaptations of the parasites, and so then only you write the what is I mean by competition, and you give the some examples. Here also the parasitism, so you clearly mention the examples for the external parasites and the internal parasites, and the competition you also write the examples for that. The examples are must and should, and the predation, what is I mean by predation and what are the examples for that. So you the examples are very important. Why? Because it is the animal association may not be contain any diagrams are there, so those the examples are very compulsory. So you should write the examples for each and every relationship, either mutualism, commensalism, parasitism or any other relationship you clearly mention, and you clearly write the examples for that, then only you got the full marks. So you only define you write the description without examples, you may not be got full points. So for the full marks you should clearly mention what is mean by. So what is the definition? First you should write the definition along with examples. It is today's topic. We will meet tomorrow. Thank you.